Hey guys, what's up? It's Ella. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be talking about a few roller coasters that I had higher expectations for. Now, this video isn't to say that any of these are bad rides. These are just some roller coasters that I thought would be better based on all the hype that's around them or things that I have heard from other enthusiasts. And of course, these are just my opinions. You're welcome to have your own opinion. And let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree with any of my picks in this video. Without further ado, let's hop into it. The first ride on this list is Millennium Force, and I have to say the number one reason why I was so misled about this roller coaster is because of the Golden Ticket Awards. This ride has been voted the number one steel roller coaster in the world so many times, and I thought this ride was going to be absolutely phenomenal and would be instantly my number one roller coaster. The first time I rode this roller coaster was in 2016, and after my first rides, I was obviously very excited because it was my first Giga coaster, and I had a lot of fun on this ride, but I did not think it was that impressive. In fact, I remember liking Magnum on my first visit to Cedar Point more than I liked Millennium Force. While it is a pretty long ride and does have a very amazing first drop, I was let down by some of the other elements on the ride. My favorite moment on this ride is probably the speed hill, but I wish some of those overbanks were a little bit more forceful. The stats and the speed are very impressive on this ride, but I didn't have as much fun on it as I did other rides such as Magnum and Maverick. And now with Steel Vengeance in the park, there is no way that this ride will ever be my favorite ride at Cedar Point. I've also had the privilege of operating Millennium Force, and I have to say that didn't make me like it that much more either. I had a few morning test rides on this ride that were very slow and very underwhelming. Aside from the incredible speed, those test runs honestly left me disappointed with this ride. This ride is also a little bit famous for its aesthetic and its space theming, although there's so much more that they could have done with this. In the end, Millennium Force is just not a ride that really blew me away, and I expected it to be a lot better than it was. The next roller coaster I'm going to talk about is Lightning Rod at Dollywood. Now don't get me wrong, Lightning Rod is still an amazing ride that I had a lot of fun on. However, I had heard so many amazing things about this ride, with a lot of people even saying that it's their favorite RMC or their number one roller coaster overall, and after my rides on Lightning Rod, I just did not get that impression. For some context, my first time riding Lightning Rod was in 2021, so after the majority of the ride was replaced with iBox track. After the iBox track was added, the ride was also slowed down and a lot of the trees around the ride were cut down, which did decrease the experience of the setting. On top of that, on our first few rides, there was also a bad wheel on our train, which did kind of add to the roughness. If you want to hear more about that experience, make sure to watch our Dollywood vlog from 2021. And I do really wish that I got to experience the ride before it was slowed down, because I feel like that is what most people are referring to when they talk about how amazing this ride is. And don't get me wrong, I still found Lightning Rod to be very fun and have some really fun airtime moments, but it wasn't everything that I thought it would be based on how much good things I had heard about it. The next ride on this list is Lightning Run at Kentucky Kingdom. Now I did debate putting this on this list, because while my first few rides did not meet my expectations, when I rode it again in 2021, my opinion on this ride changed significantly. The first few times that I rode it, I did think it was fun, but it didn't necessarily blow me away. A lot of people I knew had said very high praises of this ride, so I did expect it to be a little more intense the first few times I rode it. However, like I said earlier, my opinion on this ride has changed. After riding it in 2021 at Keys to the Kingdom, we got some really awesome night rides and we had a great marathon on it where we didn't even have to get out of the train to keep re-riding it. I'm really glad that I gave this coaster a second chance because I do have a very high opinion of it now, but the first few times I rode it, I was expecting a little bit more. But that just goes to show sometimes you need to rewrite a coaster in different conditions to really get a good feel for the complete potential of a ride. The next ride on this list is Leviathan at Canada's Wonderland. Now again, Leviathan is still a fantastic ride and it's a lot of fun, but it did kind of just remind me of a B&M hypercoaster. Obviously, it is taller and faster than just a regular hypercoaster, and being B&M's first Giga Coaster, I could see why this design resembles their hypercoasters a little bit more. While I do think it's one of the best rides at Canada's Wonderland, it didn't really stand out to me as being more fun or more interesting than some of the other rides that I've ridden. It's not like Leviathan is super rough or has super boring elements, or there's not really anything that's like significantly wrong with this ride. It just didn't blow me away. There was so much hype when Leviathan was announced because B&M was finally making Giga Coasters, but when I rode it, it didn't really feel that much different from the hypercoasters that they've already had. And that's why I don't think Leviathan quite met the expectations I had for it. The next ride on this list is Lightning Racer at Hershey Park. Before riding this ride, I had heard some decent things about the dueling element and how it's a really cool aspect of this ride. And yes, the dueling was pretty cool, but the rest of the ride was a disappointment. I did find that it ran a little rough, and I didn't really notice any good airtime moments or good moments of forces, and there just wasn't a whole lot to this ride other than that dueling aspect. I did ride both sides of this ride, and both times I had a similar reaction where I just kind of felt underwhelmed and didn't really feel excited to ride it again. Especially after the trek that it is to get back to Lightning Racer, since it's all the way in the back of the park, it was definitely disappointing to see that the efforts that we had made to get to this ride were not very well rewarded by kind of a sad ride. It was nice that the dueling was consistent, but the rest of the ride didn't really leave much to be desired. Speaking of wooden coasters, another roller coaster that I did have higher expectations for is Thunderbolt at Kennywood. This ride does have a really cool setting, and I really like how it's a classic coaster, it's a historical coaster, and it has that awesome drop right out of the station. While this ride does have some good lateral forces, I think I expected it to be a little more intense from the hype that I've heard about it. The first time I rode this ride, I thought I was underwhelmed because we were sitting towards the middle of the train, but after getting rides towards the front and the back, I still wasn't really impressed with it. I still have a lot of respect for this ride and the history of this ride, but I do wish it was just a little more intense. That's going to conclude it for this video. Leave a comment and let me know if you agree with the roller coasters that I mentioned, or if there's any other ones that I didn't mention that left you feeling underwhelmed. If you enjoyed this content, make sure to subscribe for more content like this, and leave this video a like if you enjoyed watching it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again.